Bumble Stitches. My name's Nicola. This is episode 15. It's Sunday the 9th of July. It's really warm again today. I didn't think it was going to be quite so warm, but there you are, still carrying on with the nice summertime that we're enjoying here in the UK. And it's really good to be back. It was 2 weeks ago since the last episode, and in that time a few things have happened relating to the podcast, namely that the knit along, which was the Try Something New knit along, has ended. It ended last Sunday, and I will have some winners to announce a little bit later in this episode. Just wanted to let you know we do have a Ravelry group for the podcast, which is called Bumble Stitches Podcast Group. Feel free to pop over there and join in. We've got some lovely members and there's been quite a lot of activity. I have recently started a questions and suggestions thread on the group. So if there's anything that you'd like to ask me, I can't think if any of you would want to ask me anything, but please feel free if there is anything you wanted to ask me, or any suggestions for things for the podcast or for future knit-alongs or anything like that at all. The thread's there waiting for you all to join in and just ask away, and I'll do my best to answer the questions and implement the suggestions. Now, I've been having a little bit of play around with editing. I'm trying to make the podcast look a little bit more professional because I feel a bit self-conscious that it's a little bit amateur at the moment, and lots of the other knitting podcasts are so slick in their presentation and production. I am struggling a little bit, if I'm honest, but if things have gone according to plan, you would have seen a proper intro before I started speaking. If things didn't go to plan, then it would just be me started speaking. So I am working on getting trying to get things just looking a little bit more slick, and just to make it a little bit more enjoyable, a more enjoyable experience to watch the podcast, other than just sweeping straight into me rambling in the spare bedroom. So fingers crossed that went okay. I'm going to go straight into finished objects, which is the normal procedure that I have on this podcast. But before I do that, I just wanted to let you know that I'm actually wearing a dress that I made myself, which is just a little cotton sort of cotton lawn that I picked up in John Lewis last year, and I bought a sewing magazine that had a free pattern on it, so I thought I'd have a go. I'm very much a novice dressmaker, so it isn't fabulous. The neckline went a little bit awry, but it's got little sort of gathers on the sleeves here, gathers across the shoulders and down into the neckline. I'll try and stand up. You won't be able to see too much of it because the chair's behind me and I'll end up falling over, but I'll just try and show you a little bit so you can see. It just goes to a sort of a panel here into a gathered skirt, and then at the back there's a little tie and a zip. But it's the first time I've actually worn it today. I felt it was a little bit frumpy, if I'm honest, but it's really lovely and cool. I popped it on today and I'm actually quite pleased with it, so I probably will wear it again. But it's nice to have something that I made myself, especially sort of like in the dressmaking rather than in the knitting. So a little bit of sewing has crept into the podcast this week. I'll move on to some knitting now for you. And I've only got one, well, I have got two finished knitted objects to share with you, but one I'm going to save a little bit till later because it's part of our knit along. So I'll just share these with you for now. And these are the Apple Blossom socks, which is a pattern by Helen Stewart. Just hold those up. I did share pictures on Instagram, and if the intro worked, as I was just mentioning, you would have seen a little snippet of those that I took outside in our very baby apple tree, which I thought was like quite fitting, seeing as they were Apple Blossom socks. I'll pop one down so that I can just show you in a bit more detail. So these are a beautiful sort of ribbed lacy pattern, which gives them a really nice fit. I knitted them on 2.25mm needles, and I inserted a Fish Lips Kiss heel into them and just followed the pattern for the rest of it. And I love them. They fit really, really well. They've knitted up nice. It was an enjoyable knit, quite a simple pattern repeat to follow. So really, really enjoyed knitting those. The yarn is a Hedgerow Yarns yarn in the Apple Blossom colourway. I actually purchased this as part of a kit from Helen, which included the pattern and the yarn. And I don't know why I left it so long to finish them, because I had one completed for ages and the other one just virtually needed the toe finishing off. So they're all done now, all blocked, and they've been waiting to share with you on the podcast. But it's nice to have another little pair of socks ready for when the weather cools down. And I'm really, really pleased with those. So that's my first finished object. I'll show you the other one a little bit later. Pop those down. I'm going to move on to works in progress, and there's something that's really grabbed my attention this last 2 weeks since I saw you, which is the So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry. I'm just going to reach across and grab it. We shouldn't be leaning so much, but just grab everything. So this is my So Faded sweater, or where I'm up to so far. Just popped it on the hanger because it just is a much easier way to show you. So as you can see, I shared the yarn last time on the podcast that I was going to knit this with, which is all from Mr. B's yarns, which are available via Bird Street UK on Etsy. And the yarn is absolutely fantastic to knit with. I chose all the shades to complement each other. And I'm likening this to a giant version of stripy socks. When you get that feeling that you just want to get onto the next colour change, this has spurred me on in exactly the same way. So I cast on in this colour here at the beginning. I can peek through the hanger, which is the Dry Stone Wool colourway, just cream with all these nice sort of natural speckles in. And then changed, sort of faded that one into the Teal Pools, this colourway here. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the way that it faded, and that follows through onto the start of the sleeve as well. That then fades into Foraging for Berries, which is the most speckled of the yarns that I'm using on this project. I don't know if you can see, the colours in that are absolutely gorgeous, and again a really nice transition fading through from one yarn colourway to the other. And then a bit further down, I'm just going to scooch a bit forward because it's a little bit uncomfortable. And then where I'm at now is faded into the Picking Blackberries colourway, which is this beautiful soft purple lavendery sort of shade with lots of splodges and speckles of that lovely blackberry colourway. So I'll just show you the back as well, pretty much the same as the front. And I'm going to be getting ready to fade into the next colourway soon. I'm knitting this on 3.75 Chiagu interchangeables, which are fab, and I think it's going to be a good idea quite soon to pop this on a larger cable so that I can try it on and just check for length. I am planning on knitting the longer length, not the cropped version of this sweater. I'm not really a cropped sweater shaped kind of girl, if you get my drift. And then obviously we have to do the sleeves to match in. But I just pop that on my lap. And so this is the yarn that I'm knitting with at the moment. You can see there's some lovely pops of the deeper shades ready to come out there. And then I just grabbed the next one. Had a bit of a ball winding disaster with this yarn cake, so I had to finish off just winding it round. But this is the colourway Urban Decay 2 from Mr. B's yarns, and I'm going to be fading into this one next, and that will be the bottom of the sweater and obviously the ribbing as well. So that will be probably the predominant shade by the time I'm finished. So I'm really, really pleased with the way the sweater's coming on. I have done an awful lot of knitting, as you can see, but it really didn't feel like an awful lot of knitting. I think just because of that anticipation of getting to the next colour change. So I think by the time we pop, where are we? The blue at the bottom, I think it's going to look really, really nice. So I can't wait. I'm almost ready. I think just another couple of rows of the Picking Blackberries, and then it'll be time to start fading into the Urban Decay. So that's something exciting to do later. While I'm on the subject of the ball winder incident, I was watching a really interesting video on YouTube the other day, which was a review of ball winders, you know, yarn cake winders that you use in conjunction with a Swift. And there was some really interesting information on there. I'll try and pop a link into the show notes for you, because it's really, really interesting. If you do have the same problem, the ball winder that I've got at the moment it was just a very sort of cheap and cheerful version that I got from Amazon, and it does behave itself sometimes, but more often than not it causes quite a lot of problems with the yarn slipping and all winding at the bottom of the cake around the spindle, and sometimes even getting caught underneath in the sort of cog gear type things, which is, you know, not ideal, especially when you're worried that it's going to break or damage your yarn. So I was looking at one on the video, which was, I think it was Stanwood made, a bit more of a heavy duty model, where the yarn is actually goes through 2 metal guides and then sort of spins around the yarn cake, if that makes any sense. I'll pop the link into the show notes. It's well worth having a look if you're interested in that, if you are having these problems. And yeah, as I said, we've got the Ravelry group there, so if you've got any questions or comments about that, or if you've got any experience, and if you've got one of these Stanwood winders, let me know what you think, because I think they are more of a considered purchase. But when you've got a lot of skeins to wind up for a project that's got a lot of, you know, requires a lot of colour changes or whatever, the thought of sitting down and winding, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 skeins, as I'm going to be soon for one of the projects that's in planning, it's not great when you think they're all going to start ending up where you have to finish off winding them yourself. So yeah, if you've got any thoughts on that, please let me know. So that's the final yarn for my So Faded. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting that in, and who knows, maybe by the next podcast I might even have this finished. But I'm sure by the time I get to sleeves, I'll probably chug along with the first one and then get sort of like a second sleeve syndrome. So I need to make sure that doesn't happen, because I want to get this off the needles before I start any sort of large projects again. So yeah, so that's the So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry. It's paid for pattern on Ravelry. There's lots of beautiful examples on Instagram. If you check out the So Faded hashtag, you will see some stunning versions of this in different colourways, and I can see me knitting another one of these very, very soon in different colourways, because it is such an easy knit and really engaging. You really, really feel, you know, that you don't want to knit on anything else while you're knitting this. So that's the So Faded sweater. Pop that down. That's all been living in my Fringe Supply Company bag, which is just fab, because all the rest of the yarn is in there. Lots and lots of room. So at the moment there are 1, 2, 3, there's 5 skeins of yarn in here, and plus I just scrunched the project up minus the coat hanger, and it also lives in there quite happily. So yeah, that's making me really happy, those two together at the moment. Right, enough of So Faded. I was watching a podcast the other day actually, and I think there's a bit of an anti-fading movement going along amongst some parts of the knitting community, all tongue-in-cheek I'm sure, but saying, you know, there's so many of these faded projects out, the Find Your Fade shawl and the sweater and so on. It's a bit of a, yeah, an anti-fade movement going on. But personally, I'm absolutely loving it. I think it's a great idea. It's a really nice way of using up some skeins of yarn that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise have used in one project. And yeah, I say bring it on. I'm going to be doing more than one, and also doing the shawl. So I say up the fades. Right, I will move on now to some other whips. And one is a bit of an old one. I'm not going to dwell on this really, because it's a bit boring. It's the Mercury socks, of which I've got one done still, and the other one is still waiting for a heel. So it's just sitting. I kind of lost interest really in this, because I just got distracted by other things. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that one. So that's the Mercury socks. But there are a couple of new whips. As I mentioned with the So Faded sweater, it's really nice to have that incentive to get to the next colourway, and it really does spur you on in your knitting. And I was watching Amy of Stranded podcasts last episode, and at the moment she's all about the stripy socks, the self-striping yarn. So I thought, yeah, stripy socks are really cool, especially if the yarn is self-striping and you don't have all those ends to weave in, which is another one of my pet hates. I still haven't woven in the ends of my starting point wrap. So yes, me and ends aren't great. So anyway, back to what I was saying. The self-striping sock yarn is ideal because, as the name suggests, it's self-striping. You don't have to change colours. It's just one skein of yarn. You know all this. I don't know why I'm explaining it further. So I went stash diving, and I did have a couple of skeins of self-striping yarn in my stash that I'd almost forgotten about. So the first pair I've cast on is just a pair of vanilla socks, and this is the Slytherin colourway, Harry Potter House of Slytherin. For those of you who don't know who Slytherin are, which I'm sure is like nobody, shut up Nicola, which I bought from London House Yarns on Etsy a long time ago, and yeah, it sat in my stash, and high time that it came out for an outing. So yes, the incentive is always to get to the next stripe. So these have been flying along. I'm not too far away from adding a heel, and now that I have not mastered, but now that I know how to do Fish Lips Kiss heel, self-striping yarn is okay by me, because I don't like to just go with it and do heel flap and gusset and then just chance how the stripes are going to work out. I like to have that little element of control. So knowing that you can pop a Fish Lips Kiss heel in and then carry on with your stripes uninterrupted along the top of the foot and carry on down is just fantastic. So I'll show you the yarn. And this yarn was really clever in the way that it was, oh, it's all got caught around the pattern. Just rescue that. So this yarn came as two 50-gram cakes, not cakes, skeins, which are caked up on the dreaded ball winder. Didn't behave too badly with this. And I can't remember the dyer's name from London House Yarns, apologies for that, but she very helpfully finishes the skeins off with a little progress keeper, which in this case is a little witch. I don't know if you can see that, a little witch on a broomstick, keeping with the Harry Potter theme. And this one had a little lightning bolt on the end, and it starts you off in exactly the same place on the two skeins or cakes of yarn once you've wound them, so that you know that you're starting in the same place. So really good if you're a two at a time sock knitter, because you've already got the skein is already split for you, and also really helpful because you know you can just start the second sock in the same place. So yes, I've been enjoying knitting with that, and I've popped my little Bertie Bott's Every Flavour Bean progress keeper just so that I know the side where the round starts, and that was part of a Sucre Miniatures and Molly from Homespun House Harry Potter Yarn Club subscription that I've had. So I thought that was quite nice to pop that on there. I'm knitting these Magic Loop on higher sharp 2.25 needles, and I am knitting 72 stitches, which, because I have got quite considerable ankles, my anklage is not lacking, so this gives me the little extra bit of room. And then I will decrease down to 64 stitches before I start the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and that will just ensure that it's, you know, nice and snug still around the heel and the foot, because yeah, if I do that at 72 stitches, it's just going to be too big. So really enjoying knitting on those at the moment. I'll just show you the yarn that I'm going to use for the heel. It's all living in my little bobbins bag. And I've got some West Yorkshire Spinners, just a grey 4-ply yarn that I'm going to pop in for the heels. And I might do the toes as well, but I'll see. I might just do the heels in that because it'll be a nice contrast. It's slightly darker grey than the grey of the yarn, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. It's still sort of neutral. So that's that project. I'll just show you the that's the ball band. So London House Yarns sock duo, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and in the Slytherin colourway. So really enjoying self-striping yarn. And that led me on to think I've got another skein of self-striping yarn in my stash. This project's living in a little project bag I made ages and ages ago, out of some scraps of fabric that a friend gave me. And this is, I haven't done very much of this one, literally only started it. Was it last night I cast these on? Yeah, it was. So this is the Trailing Clouds Mind the Gap colourway, and it's just amazing, this yarn. Now I've got a really messy cake here because pre-knowing how to do Fish Lips Kiss Heel, I did cast these on and got to the heel and realised that I wasn't going to be able to cope with the way the stripes were going to perform around the heel flap and gusset and then back into the main part of the sock. So I just got really cross with it, unwound it all, yeah, and this was the result. So, but you can see all the colours that are in here, which is quite a lot, and you get quite a quick sort of stripe repeat. Again, this is 72 stitches. These are 2.25mm high sharps again, and yeah, but it's given enough. I think I'm probably getting about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 rows of each colour before it before the stripe changes. And for those of you that don't know, Mind the Gap is a reference to the London Underground, and the colours of the yarn represent the colours of the tube lines. So it's really, really cool. It's lovely yarn. I've seen lots of people knit socks in these and they look fab. And now I know I can pop the Fish Lips Kiss Heel in when I choose without interrupting the stripes. It's going to be fab. And I think, again, the grey will go really, really well. So, yep, stripy socks a go-go. So, that covers all my works in progress, apart from the crochet blanket, which hasn't had any love at all since So Faded began. And I'm consciously trying to not knit monogamously, because I would get bored with that, but just have one big project on the needles, like the sweater that I'm doing, and maybe some socks, and not have lots and lots of big projects on the go, because it just becomes overwhelming for me, and then inevitably something just ends up being sacrificed for the sake of something else. So I just have a little quick sip of my water. Too hot for tea today. Okay, and I'm going to move on now to Knit Along Winners. I know you've all been waiting for that moment, and it was really exciting, and I really enjoyed the whole process of putting together prizes, and just the whole thing of the Knit Along really has been such a source of inspiration, and I don't know how to put it into words. It's been a really lovely experience for me to organise the Knit Along, and for you to all embrace it and join in and post your pictures in the Threads on Ravelry group and chatter in the Ravelry group, and it's just made it a really, really nice experience. So thank you all for participating the way that you have, and making me feel yeah, that it was worthwhile doing. So I would definitely do another one in the near future. Okay, I went to Random Number Generator and selected the appropriate number of posts for the relevant threads that I was doing. I'm going to use my notes here. I've chosen winners from, or selected winners by Random Number Generator from the Finished Objects thread, and also from the chatter thread. And as I mentioned last time on the podcast, I have also awarded a special prize, which was not by Random Number Generator. This is somebody that I thought deserved a prize just for the going above and beyond in the knit along. And yeah, I felt that was really, really nice thing to do, and that was worthy of a special prize. So without further ado, okay, so from the finished objects thread, which will be this Bumble Stitches project bag with the gnomes at the top, red stripes at the bottom, the little, he's spun around the wrong way, the little bumblebee, oh goodness me, behave yourself bumblebee, the little bumblebee on the zip, and same pattern on the back. I have shown this before, but you know, and lined with the stripy fabric, and it's got the box bottom, so there's lots of room in there for probably about 2 or 3 skein project. And that is accompanied with some mini skeins, and that prize, there were 25 posts in the finished objects thread. So I popped in 2 to 25 on the random number generator, and the winning post was 23, and that was made by Joe9919 is your Ravelry name, and that's Joe. So congratulations, Joe, that's just amazing. Thank you so much for taking part. And Joe did, as her try something new, a provisional crochet cast on in a striped cowl that she's knitted. So well done to you, well done for trying something new. Provisional crochet cast on, yeah, way to go. I did one when I was back at the retreat in March, and again on a little cardigan that I made for Ava, and it's a great technique to know. So well done to you, Joe. This is your prize. So if you can drop me a message on Ravelry with your full name and address, and I'll get this in the post to you. So well done to you. The finished objects thread was just amazing. People had done, as Joe did, provisional crochet cast on. People had tried fish lips kiss heels for the first time. People had tried steeking, knitting with lace, knitting with beads. Oh, what else can I think of? Colour work. There was just so much loveliness, and you'd all really taken a leap into new techniques, and that's what it was all about. So well done to everybody. Yeah, I think it's just been amazing. I'm going on too much now. I'm going to move on to the next winner, and that was drawn from the chatter thread. Lots and lots of chatter, which was lovely to see. I do need probably to start up a general sort of chattering thread in the group so that you can all carry on chatting. I popped in 2 to 120, and the random generator gave us post 104, which was Just So Sue, which is Sue. And I think that particular post, Sue was sharing her So Faded sweater. So well done to you, Sue. That's amazing. Thank you so much for chatting and taking part. And your prize is the same as Joe's, but in the blue colourway. And that comes with some mini skeins from Paper Stories UK. And I think there's a little stitch marker, progress keeper, on there as well, which is the skein of yarn. So again, if you could let me know your address details by message on Ravelry, and I'll get that in the post to you as well. Congratulations. I love doing this. The prize giving is amazing. And the final prize, as I mentioned, is not by random generator. It's one that I have chosen. I just grabbed the prize, and I've lost the tag of the bag, have I? Oh no, I popped it inside. So this was the beautiful hand embroidered bag by Sherry Iris. She's got a shop on Etsy. She has got some bags in there at the moment if you pop along. And on the back, so cute, one more row, all hand embroidered, all beautifully lined. It's a smaller bag, this one, but perfect for socks. And inside there is some tea and a little lavender pouch with a clip on, so you can use it as a scissor keep or put your stitch markers on it and keep it in your project bag. But that's the project bag, and with that is the skein of little yellow uke yarn in the Palmer Violets colourway, and this is a sock weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon on the soprano base. This is beautiful yarn. This is the same yarn, different colourway, that I use for my Madewell cardigan. Knits up beautifully. I just thought these were a really nice match. So I was reading through the threads and on the chatter thread, and there was one person that was really throwing herself into it, commenting lots on everybody's projects and progress, helping them along, spurring them along, and a really good member of the chatter thread. And that is Miss Kittens, who is Sam. So I'm giving Sam the special prize for all her support that she gave to everybody in the knit along. So that's Miss Kittens, your Ravelry name, Sam. So congratulations, thank you so much for all the support you gave to everybody during the knit along. If you could DM me your details on Ravelry and I'll get your prize over to you. So thank you to everybody that took part. I wish I could give you all a prize, because you all deserve one for trying something new and being brave and taking that extra step. But there will be future knit alongs coming up, and yeah, and if you've got any ideas for themes for knit alongs, pop them in the questions thread and we can consider those as we move forward. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to move along now to, just checking my notes because my head's a bit mush at the moment. It's probably because I'm going back to work tomorrow. I've been off for 4 weeks now since I had my spinal op, and the first couple of weeks were quite painful and not very enjoyable, but as I've got better and felt stronger and the pain has diminished, it's been nice to just have time to knit and do some things around the house, not anything strenuous obviously, but just, you know, pottering around and doing things. So the thought of going back to work tomorrow is a bit daunting, and I'm sure I'll be fine once I get there and get back into the swing of it. But yeah, it's feels a bit strange to think that I'll be back at work tomorrow. Anyway, enough of that. I thought I'd just let you know about a planned project that I have, and it's the latest release in Curious Handmade's Shawl Society 2, and it's called the Villa Wrap. And you may have seen it on Instagram if you follow Curious Handmade. It's a stunning rectangular wrap with a chevron design. I'm just getting the yarn out of my bag. With, yeah, a chevron, striped chevron design in 2 colours of yarn, and then some lace sections. So do check it out. If you don't follow Curious Handmade on Instagram, go and have a look. It's such a really, you know, it's a beautiful design, and looks like it's quite straightforward. It's not any sort of shaping or anything, it's just a rectangle, but the interaction of the chevron and the lace is just stunning. So yeah, that's going to be the next project on my needles. Now the yarns that I've chosen, I bought this yarn absolutely yonks ago when I was in Loop in London, and it's Dye For yarn is the dyer. I think it's an indie brand, and it is a fingering weight, 75% wool, 25% silk. So it's got that nice sort of drapeability to it. Not sure if drapeability is a word. And it is, yeah, merino superwash wool and mulberry silk, 100 grams, 400 meters. This is a very, very, very deep purple, and it's called Bat in a Dark Mood, which is a lovely, as I say, really deep purple, but it has got some sort of tonal qualities to it as well. I don't know if you can see there, it's a little bit blown out there. That's more the colour, but you can see there are subtle tonal changes to the yarn. So that's going to be for the lace sections of the wrap. And then I have the other Dye For yarn, which is the same blend. This is called Withered Magnolia Flower, and again a lovely tonal yarn, which I thought would be beautiful for the stripe section. I'm going to pair that along with this one from the Wool Barn. So this will be the chevron stripes, and then this will be the lace section. And the yarn from the Wool Barn is their alpaca sock 4-ply fingering in natural ecru. Is that how you pronounce it? Ecru? It's a funny word, isn't it? And this is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk, 10% cashmere. So this is dreamy. It's so soft, so squidgy. So this is going to be a really luxurious wrap with the baby alpaca, mulberry silk, cashmere. Oh, lovely. So I'm not sure it's going to be for me. It might be a gift. I am starting to think about the dreaded C word and getting some projects underway for gifts for the family at Christmas time. But we'll see how it turns out. It might be one of those projects that once it's knit, the yarn is just so delicious that it might be something that has to stay with me, but we'll see. The plan is that it will become a gift for someone. So look out for that next time. That might be, once the So Faded is done, I think that'll be the next thing on my needles. I've just got the yarn ready, so once the pattern was released, I had to go stash diving immediately, and yeah, I think these colours work really well together. I just popped it all in my Mrs. Brown's bag. Actually, it works quite well. I hadn't realised because the dye 4 yarn has got the skull and crossbones or cross swords there, and it's on here. So there you go. Pop those in there. And the final thing to share with you is, oh, I was talking all about the knit along, wasn't I? I completely forgot that I had actually completed my project, which was sitting there behind me. I knitted the Fairy Hill shawl, which was the first shawl in this Shawl Society 2 by Helen, Curious Handmade. And I did the shawlette version, which was just a 1 skein project. And this is yarn from Hedgerow Yarns again, in the Jaipur colourway, which is lovely. It's a singles, merino singles, and the colours are beautiful, very sort of jewel toned, and I added to it the beads. I don't know if you can see. Yep, there we go. The little sort of teal coloured seed beads, and that was my try something new. I had attempted lace before. I'm not great at it. I'm still not fab, if I'm honest, but I hadn't knitted with beads before, so that was really nice to try that, and I know that I can do it now. So yeah, that was my try something new. There were a few moments when there was a lot of tinking back and yeah, quite a lot of getting cross with it, but I persevered and I got there in the end. The pattern is beautiful. It's beautifully written. In my haste to get this finished by the end of the knit along last Sunday, I did just soak it and then blocked it on the washing line, which hasn't really or you can, if I hold it up to the light, you can see the pattern of the lace more. I think on reflection, this yarn and this pattern weren't the perfect marriage. Although they are both beautiful, I think it was my error in choosing them to go together, because the multi colours haven't really done the lace any favour in showing the pattern. And also I needed to really pin this out and block it properly. Blocking on the line whilst it sort of evened it out hasn't really opened the lace work out enough to its full potential. So I probably will give that another proper block. So yeah, that was my second knitted finished object this week for you. And I really didn't want to fail at my own knit along, so that would have been a bit bad. I think it was about 35% of the pattern when I last podcast, and then I really knuckled down and got this done. So yeah, nearly forgot to show you though. So that was the Fairy Hill shawl. Okay, I was about to tell you about the stash enhancement that I've had, which is amazing. Okay, first of all, I shall just start off by showing you these beautiful, I'm going to pop them on the back of my hand so hopefully you can see them, stitch markers and progress keeper that I got from Jules at So Sweet Violet. Aren't they beautiful? It's difficult for me to show you how lovely they are. I think the camera's probably trying to focus on, should I do that thing where, can you see them now? I'm not very good at this. But the little rainbow, and then the rainbow coloured, the rainbow is a progress keeper, and the little stitch markers in all the rainbow colours, which are absolutely beautiful. Jules does some absolutely beautiful, beyond beautiful bags, and she did some notions pouches and lavender sachets and things like that. I'm hopeless when people do updates on Etsy, and we all know what it's like everybody is ready, poised with their iPads and computers and phones and whatnot, waiting for the update. And I just know it's just, I haven't got hope in hell's chance. I'm just not quick enough. So completely missed everything in the update. I would have loved one of the rainbow bags, but hey ho. But I did notice that she'd popped a surprise update in her shop a couple of days ago and added some more of the Progress Keeper sets. So I just popped one of those in my basket, which came. So thank you, Jules. And she sent a nice little note with that, which was lovely. So I have got a little bit of So Sweet Violet here, which is something. So that's my first bit of stash enhancement. And the next thing, this is just amazing. I've got it all in tissue paper at the moment, so there's going to be a bit of rustling, which I'm just going to grab. And one of the bands has come off. I ordered from Amy of the Little Tailoress a Find Your Fade shawl yarn kit. And when it arrived, I wasn't quite ready for how gorgeous it was going to be. So I'm just going to gather these up and show you, and then I'll go through them individually. So this is the kit that I bought from Amy, that she's hand dyed, beautifully hand dyed. Isn't that just a picture of loveliness? And my Find Your Fade is going to be an absolutely shameless copy of Amy's. And the reason for that is because hers is, in my opinion, perfect. And I didn't want to mess about trying to choose colourways of my own. I just wanted mine to be exactly like hers. So sorry, Amy, it is a shameless copy. And thank you for making these kits available in exactly the same shades that you dyed for your own Find Your Fade. And I'm sure you will follow Amy on Instagram and watch her podcast, but if you don't, please do, because her work is beautiful. Her whole aesthetic is just gorgeous. So check her out, and you will see, I think it was a couple of episodes back, her Find Your Fade shawl, and she's got pictures of it on Instagram, so you see just how gorgeous it is. I'm just going to run through these colourways for you. Well, some of them don't actually have colourways on them, and I need to reference back to her picture, her photograph of the shawl, just to see what order they come in, because some of these skeins are 20 gram skeins and some of them are 100 gram skeins, just the way that the shawl pattern works. So these smaller ones, this first one is Golden Pippin. It's a little bit blown out, it's a bit richer than that. The light's playing up a bit. But a gorgeous shade with some nice dark brown speckles in. These are all 4-ply 100% merino superwash. That's the first one. This one is The Last Runaway. It was inspired by a program or a film or something, but I can't remember what it was, so sorry for that. And again, the screen's making it look a bit more greeny, but it is very golden, like golden fields of wheat or something. Just wish that colour would. No, it's still too greeny. I did pop a picture on my Instagram, and also if the title thing worked at the beginning of the podcast, you would have seen a good representation of the colours on there. The last of the smaller skeins is Late Summer Picnic, which is the golden shades, but introducing more peach and a bit of sort of caramel colour there as well. So you can see how these are all going to work together. This next one is a very peachy, very soft peachy tonal, which I think might be her Pearl Button colourway. There isn't a name on the skein, but I think it might be that. So that's that one. Stunning, so pretty. And I love her little brown card skein, what are these called, labels? Yeah, with her logo on. So that's that one. The next one is peachy, but introducing lots of speckles. So there's lots of teal and browns, and there's a little bit of sort of yellowy gold in there as well. So you can just see how these are all going to work so beautifully together. And then we go into, peaches are moving into the sort of tealy aqua. The caramel's in there again, and some little spots of green. So that's gorgeous. Can't wait to see that caked up, how that's going to be once it's caked. I really need a new winder. This is what I mean. I'd like to have a really nice winder so that I can do this yarn justice, because the thought of it all going all tangly and anyway. And this final skein, which we then go to the darker teal with the really deep speckles, the fresher green with some almost natural spots there, and the grey with the teal speckles as well. So I think it's going to look amazing once it's done, and those colours all together, it's going to be such a lovely find your fade. So yeah, big project though, so I need to get the So Faded done, move on to the Find Your Fade. So yeah, definitely I'm in the Go Fade Go gang rather than the too many fades. So I think that's probably everything for this episode. I'll just check on my notes because I don't think there's anything that I've missed. No, I think that is everything. So once again, thank you ever so much for joining me. Big congratulations to all our Knit Along prize winners. So please contact me on Ravelry and then I can get your prizes off to you in the post. Thank you so much to everyone for watching, for coming back. Hopefully things are getting a bit more professional around here. I hope you liked everything that I'm knitting on, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care. Bye.